What's up? What's up? Got a good podcast for you. It's the HBCU Monday on a Wednesday. Anyway, we want to talk all things Jackson State, the big win from week one, also beat Tennessee State in week two. We're going to talk about beloved A&T Aggies getting asses beat twice, possibly starting out 0-3 with the game against Duke coming up, as well as Central in North Carolina Central. Gotta give them props for doing the thing so far. Looking to be the big favorite in the MEAC, but another news that you could use or from all things HBCU sports. So join Dwayne Nash as we break all that down. So until then, stay tuned. Welcome to tonight's HBCU edition of the Klown Podcast. I'm Scott Burks. Please check him out, www.theklowntimes.net, as you see on this glared screen here. So as you can see, it's Klown spelled with K. You can find me on Facebook as well, or your smartphone, laptop, desktop, wherever you are, where you may be. Just type in the Klown Times search window. You'll find me there as well. Also, speaking of which, please get the merch at cafepress.com. Search for the Klown Times Sports. The link will be in the description under this video. As well as one more thing, please see the like, comment, share, and subscribe. Even if you do not like anything we have to say, just comment anyway. Just like this video excerpt I have about the Duke and BYU volleyball in light of BYU's officials not finding anything. And that's another story for another time. But I see people who have been commenting. That's fine. I commented back too. So if you want to be petty, I can be petty too. But anyway, just like, comment, share, subscribe. I love the interaction. Did you be glad you did? Now I'll be glad you did. All right. Since it's HBCU Monday, of course, I got to bring my man back, even though it's HBCU Monday on a Wednesday. But that's due to a few things, some logistics, as well as works I have it last week. But of course, it's Labor Day last month. But anyway, to get into this, brought my man back. Y'all know him for the yard/HBCU Sports Reps for all things HBCU Sports. We're a sleazy radio every Tuesday on Facebook Live and YouTube. And last but not least, check him out on herosports.com. We rest about all things FCS athletics as they pertain to HBCU sports. The man, the legend, Dwayne Nash is back in the house. What's up, brother?
Man, oh man, you talk about Labor Day. You know, I was actually down in Miami.
Wow.
During Labor Day weekend to check out the Orange Blossom Classic.
Yes.
Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to check out the city the way that most people normally do. But even that little bit of taste that I got, you know, for a brother who didn't necessarily want to go to Miami ever, I think I want to go back.
Really?
Yeah.
Hey, dude, 2 words. South Beach.
You know what? We got a chance to go to Miami Beach, and but it was like, maybe around 9, 10 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that, of course, stood out to me the most, I mean, it's nighttime, so I really couldn't see a lot of the sites, but the 24-hour enforced parking. You know, being a DC guy and with parking being horrendous here, I never thought it was a place probably outside of New York that would be worse. Nah, I found that place. And that place is Miami Beach. 24-hour enforced parking is ridiculous.
Unless you are staying somewhere near South Beach where you can decide to take a Uber or walk.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's rough. It's rough sledding. It is rough sledding. Trust me on that. But hey, at night you may not see many of the sites. The other sites you can see, wink, wink. So that's all I got to say about that. You know, on that note, speaking of Miami, let's get right to it before I get myself into trouble. Yeah, I was going to mention this last week. Again, Labor Day, Monday. I was going to talk about Jackson State's curb stomping of Florida A&M. And, you know, we're going to talk about them of Jackson State week 2 shortly. But it looks like, because FAMU, we thought was going to be one of the main challenges to Jackson State, at least within their division, the East Division. But the way to put the smackdown, I mean, look at Shedeur Sanders went 29 of 33 for 323 yards. The boy missed just 4 passes. 29 of 33 for 323 yards, 5 touchdowns. Yeah, more touchdown passes than incompletions. You go ahead, man. Go ahead with your bad stuff. And they just toyed with FAMU. And so with the acquisition they had with the recruiting, of course, you know, the top player, the number 1 overall player.
Travis Hunter.
Travis Hunter. The young man who's wide receiver as well, who was also 5-star. Jackson State, wow. Deion Sanders is building a behemoth. Now, again, there's only been 2 games. We're going to talk about the win over Tennessee State in a moment. And it's hard to tell if in 2 weeks, but Jackson State, man, Dwayne, they if you thought they were good last year, woo child. That's all I gotta say. Woo child.
Yeah. So, I'll touch on a couple of quick stats in a little bit, but I do got to give you firsthand account from what I saw down in the Orange Blossom Classic as it pertains to that matchup. So, of course, I'm up there in the press box. I'm surrounded by people from Tallahassee, and they're hyped about this game, especially based upon what they saw against North Carolina.
Right.
That kind of ended real quick.
Yeah, I bet.
And then as the game progressed, like you said, you brought up Shador's completion percentage. We're keeping track in the press box. You're like, 13 for 13, 16 for 16. He actually completed 17 consecutive passes before his first incompletion.
Wow.
So, of course, with that day, like you said, 28 for 33, right? Best of his career. 5 touchdowns, most of his career. 11 completions to 11 different receivers. Something that he actually matched this past week against Tennessee. So this dude is passing, as of right now, over 76% in terms of completion percentage, 3rd in the nation right now. Shador is most definitely looking like he's maturing as a passer. The thing, though, is what, some people who are not that well versed in football will complain about is the fact that he's taking a lot of unders and a lot of short passes. Right. You take what the defense gives you, so you can get completions, and you allow the skill players to do what they do. You don't necessarily have to hit on the long ball all the time.
Right.
You hit it when it's there. But the fact that you're getting completions, you're extending drives, and you're scoring points, isn't that what the game is about? Scoring more points than your opponent?
Right.
Duh. So, yeah, this dude has been on a tear over the last 2 weeks, and I'm intrigued to see if he stays on this pace for the entire season.
Yeah, I mean, and we both MEAC guys, but to see Jackson State dominate the way they're dominating, right? I mean, look, it's an early sample size. Yes, we get it, but a big win is a big win, especially over a conference rival, right? Which returned to a blood feud almost between them and FAMU. It's almost turned to a blood feud because they play every year the first week of the season in the Orange Blossom Classic. I'm just looking forward to the work that Deion's going to put in as far as seeing this to completion, if you will. But what I mean by completion is seeing what this program looks like, because we kind of touched on, like we might as well get to it. It's the week 2 win over Tennessee State, 16-3, where they won on the defense, right? They won defensively. So they put in like back-to-back complete weeks, right? First week offensively, second week defensively. And it's just, again, it's amazing the job that Deion Sanders is doing right now. And, that's why I'm just eager to see what this program looks like at its peak, because it's heading there. And you talk about like what was the name of the business term? Like a disruptor. You're talking about disruptors right now for college football, for the HBCU level, especially in the FCS. It's Deion Sanders and Jackson State. They're getting very good they're great recruits. And by the way, they damn near sold out the Liberty Bowl last week.
Yeah.
Over 51,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, not bad for 2 lowly HBCUs, right? I mean, I'm just interested. I'm just intrigued with how Deion's going to take this, because you spoke about this up before, man. many coaches have pointed out what Deion has pointed out for years and years and years.
Mm-hmm.
And now, because it's Deion Sanders pointing out the same thing, it's a change.
I know, right?
Yeah, it's crazy.
And with that said, I've said it before on the show. I really call Deion Sanders the E.F. Hutton, and I'm going old school Martin on this. I'm misspelling Hutton. Hutttin. That's a playoff of football with the Hut.
Yeah.
You can applaud me later. But yeah, it seems as though that when he speaks, everyone listens, even though he's saying a lot of the same things that other HBCU coaches and administrators have said before in the past.
Mm-hmm.
The fun part about it, though, is he's coming through a lot more aggressive than the others have done so before him, because he doesn't necessarily have HBCU ties the way that everyone else has.
Right.
So, he'll speak about these things and they'll sound a little brash or a lot of brash to a lot of people, and they'll rub them the wrong way. Sometimes he's right. Sometimes he's wrong. That's up for debate. But he has a point when he makes his points, though.
Yeah, exactly. So it's interesting. I mean, I'll say this, though. Mm-hmm. What's going to be really cool this coming week, sticking with Jackson State for a minute, they're playing Grambling.
Yeah.
And, that's him versus T. Jackson.
Uh-huh.
So, which is another man who's making some change, whether people how they feel about Art Browse or whatever, right? But he's doing something, right, to at least raise the profile of Grambling. But I say all that to say this, man. And this is just probably in my head literally just now, so please forgive me for the incongruence, if you will. Remember what I said in the past, that the many times that the SWAC is sitting on a gold mine and they don't realize it?
Yeah.
Jackson State has damn near sold out the Liberty Bowl. Out of our conference, mind you. Against a fellow HBCU school in the conference. They in the week before, almost 40,000 attended.
Almost 40,000, yeah.
When are they? I mean, Deion saying some things, but when are we gonna? When is the SWAC? Come on, SWAC! What are y'all doing? What are y'all doing?
Well, with the deal with with HBCU Go,
yeah, how's that going?
Find out what the actual numbers are with that.
Okay.
Because at first it was originally reported that it was going to be 10-year, 120 mil.
Right.
Don't know how true that is. Still haven't seen any numbers on that just yet. But I'll let someone who's a lot smarter than I am speak on that. But I will say this: the exposure that they've created with that deal, in terms of not only having the streaming, but having the regional network connections, like I said before on the show, that's very similar to Raycom and the Jefferson Pilot deals that they had with the SEC and the ACC in past years.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. I just want to see whether or not that can pay dividends. Now, of course, the attendance thing has most definitely been a thing within the SWAC for some time. This just most definitely has taken a boost with the hiring of Deion Sanders as Jackson State's head coach, and now that they're winning, it makes it that much more. It makes them that much more of a viable product to come and see. Even though there's still a lot said about whether or not this last Southern Heritage Classic is going to be their final one, but of course, Deion has most definitely burned bridges with the Southern Heritage Classic with his comments that he said over the past.
And that's too bad.
6 to 8 months. Yes and no. The reason why I say no is because of the fact of the deal that they have, where they're making under $350,000 per appearance.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, remember we talked about that during the spring.
Right.
Yes, FedEx gives both teams $1 million. That's something I don't know if they've been giving them the whole $1 million their entire time they've had a relationship with the Southern Heritage Classic, but they're about 17, 18 years in with said relationship. Now, that's nice and all, but that's still not the money that they should be getting from the Classic and their organizers. So I understand why he's beefing about that money, especially now with the stuff that the city of Jackson is going through in terms of their water situation and the fact that they can't even keep their players on campus. Matter of fact, I'm wondering, I think campus is still closed. Now, according to Coach Sanders, he said during the press conference at the Orange Blossom Classic that they were spending a minimum of $15,000 a night for their players to stay in hotels. And they've been doing that since you do the math. So you can imagine the amount of money that they have to come out of pocket. And he said, of course, he's got the deal on that. But you can imagine how much money that the university or whomever is having to come out of pocket to keep these kids housed and fed during this time period, while they're also still going out and having to play football. I mean, it's a little bit easier now that they don't necessarily have to go to class, but that's another conversation, and I don't want to get into it right now.
Sure.
But they're still going out to represent the university and the state of Mississippi, and that's how the state of Mississippi does Jackson State and the city of Jackson. But yet,
this is another podcast. That could be a 2 to 3 hour podcast, brother.
Yeah, it could. But, we find out about the Brett Favre situation. For those of us who weren't paying attention earlier in the year, that this thing was going down, not just with Brett Favre, but with my man, the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase as well, who was involved in PPP loan fraud. So that entire thing is just crazy, especially with the state of Mississippi being one of the poorest states in the country. Right. Again, another podcast for another time. Yeah. But to your point, yes, they're sitting on a gold mine. The thing is, of course, that they're taking steps. The thing is, though, I'm still waiting to see if the steps that they're taking is actually paying dividends for the membership institutions or not. Because if it's not, then they need to change that. But again, exposure-wise, it's looking good.
Right.
But no such thing as exposure bucks.
Right. Thank you.
Can't pay bills with exposure bucks.
Right.
So until that rectifies itself, then I don't want to hear anything else. About whether or not they're doing what they're supposed to do financially.
Exactly. No deal. Let's shift to the MEAC right quick. This is gonna pain me. I know it's gonna pain you, but we gotta give Central their props. Central is pretty good.
They are, but I will say this.
Yeah.
They've definitely had the easiest schedule so far within the conference. They have. They played against an A&T team who a lot of people, including myself, thought would beat them. But, I chalked it up to bad coaching. How do you only run the ball 16 times total and pass for 48?
Oh, that's a bad combination.
Yeah. The quarterback almost tied the record for most pass attempts in A&T history in that game against Central. Only for you to run the ball well over 30 times against North Dakota State.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Say what you want. Okay, they weren't completing passes against North Dakota State. Okay, cool. You weren't completing passes against Central either. But that's another conversation or another time. But as of right now, based upon the level of competition that they played, they hadn't played an FBS opponent, unlike everyone else within the conference. So, but they did handle A&T, and they handled Winston-Salem State in a manner that I wasn't expecting them to, with them beating them 41-0. And they beaten both teams two different ways. They beat A&T with the dual threat of Davius Richard, the quarterback there, and with Winston-Salem State, they ran them to death.
Right.
So congratulations to North Carolina Central, Trey Oliver. This team has been on an upward trajectory ever since he's been hired there, and they're 2-0 for the first time in school history since 2006. Oddly enough, they were in the CIAA when they were last time 2-0. And also, oddly enough, Trey Oliver was the DBs and wide receivers coach for Central back then.
Interesting. Well, I would say this: they appear to be the front runners on now, but I was give more press at this. This leads back into the SWAC Jackson State conversation. In the current FCS poll, Jackson State is ranked 11th currently.
Yeah.
They've ascended. They moved up 4 spots from last week. They moved up quite a few spots from the week before last. But guess who's one of the teams, the HBCU, not HBCU that received votes? That would be North Carolina Central. So again, it pains me to say this, but they're representing the MEAC and they're representing hard. So, and it looks like they won the North Carolina State Championship.
Yeah. I mean, you're 2-0 so far.
Yeah.
You played extremely well. You've put up a combined 79 points in your last 2 games. You're going to get some consideration. Yeah. Right. But I will say this. There's a lot of people who are jumping on Central early right now. But like I said before, everyone else in the MEAC has at least played against one FBS opponent. And then an interesting fact, of the 41 total games played by FCS HBCUs, 21 of them have been against at least FBS or Division II opponents. So it's still hard to gauge where everyone currently is. But once conference play starts within the MEAC, I still truly believe it's a hot box. I still think it's anyone's conference to win. So, until I see otherwise, I'm still going to believe that.
Yeah, me too. Before we get to our beloved A&T Aggies, I'm gonna show some love to our sponsors, BetUs. So, right quick, listen to Sports Bettors, your favorite sports book. Can't talk tonight. BetUS.com is back for our 20th year of NFL action. With the industry's biggest sign-up bonuses up to 200%, BetUS offers our members the opportunity to cash in all of your favorite sports, including NFL, UFC, and MLB. If you're looking for live in-game betting, incredible odds with daily odds boosters, props, and parlays, we got it. So how about fast payouts and exceptional one-on-one customer service, y'all? We got that too. So log into betus.com or call 1-800-792-3887. That's 800-79-BET-US. Also use the promo code TKT for Klown Times to get a special hookup. So betus.com where the game begins. All right. This is where it hurts me some more. Got to talk about our beloved Aggies.
Do we have to? We're Aggies, man. We gotta represent, like, to paraphrase the great Al Green, in times of good and bad and happy and sad. Right? Yeah.
So we already mentioned week 1's disaster, losing the Central the way they did. It wasn't even close.
Yeah.
As the final score indicated, it was just that bad. And I see the stat line here for Jaeger. Is it Jaeger or Jaeger?
I think it's Jaeger. Yeah.
Jaeger. 23 of 48, 275 yards, completed less than 50% of his passes. You can't have that. To your point, 48 pass attempts. Golly. And then to follow that up, they decided to take the show on the road, I guess, to test their mettle against FCS powerhouse in North Dakota State. Woo, child. I'll say this. I was on this Twitter. I'm looking at the Twitter feed right now, and I'm surprised you weren't even included on. But I'll forward you the link. The Twitter link. Actually, I'm gonna do this shit right now, just as I'm scrolling through. But anyway, it's about specifically the people, the A&T alums and Twitter users that I follow and follow me as well. Probably follow you too, who went to the game. And let me I'll quote tweet this to you right quick so you can have this to munch on as we talk about it.
Okay.
Very long story short, they talked about the funding disparities as far as like the actual like resources that North Dakota State, even as the FCS, has. I mean, one of them had a video of them driving by the stadium. And driving by on video, that stadium looks clean, man, from the outside. Think of a lower scaled version of Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. Yeah. I don't know if you've ever been.
Yeah.
But it's like that. Yeah. It's like that, but a little bit scaled down. Same length of the field, just obviously less capacity. But the fact of the matter is they talked about the funding. They talked about how North Dakota State's getting those funds. A lot of us do. They have a strong donor base, right? They have a strong alumni base, as you can probably pretty well imagine. And they filled it up with 16,000 strong, for that game. And I just look at that. I'm thinking to myself, wow. I'm thinking, wow, because granted, North Dakota State is pretty much, besides the University of North Dakota, are the only good things, sports, big things in town. Well, I mean my town in the state of North Dakota, period, right? There's not much going on there but those two programs. But still, if North Dakota State could garner that amount in freaking North Dakota, right? They have a good alumni base, but it's FCS level, so it can't be so much bigger and better, right? So I'm just I mean, as it pertains to not that A&T is lacking. We've seen the campus. It looks great. It looks better than UNCG, to be honest with you. But even though people confuse it for UNCG these days, but the fact of the matter is, man, it's like someone's mentioned on this Twitter thread that I'm just paraphrasing off the top of my head that North Dakota State is playing chess. And most of FCS is playing checkers. So for all those, for A&T, since we're looking to punch above our weight, which is cool. I have no problem with that. I have no problem with that. My dad will always say, if you're the smartest person in the room, you need to get the hell out of that room and challenge yourself. I get that, right? I just think of the possibilities, which harkens back to past conversations about HBCUs just stepping up the profiles because they're brands galore. We know who those brands are, okay? And each of those brands have strong alumni bases. Let's not get it twisted. A&T has a damn good, strong-ass base. We know this, right? FAMU has a strong alumni base. Jackson State has a strong alumni base. And we're not going to get to Grambling and Southern, two very proud alumni bases. So it can be done. I just wonder it's like this imaginary glass barrier that's over a lot of these schools that's placed there. I mean, it's not the alumni per se. I don't know. I can't quantify it, man. It's like what's stopping it? Because the good thing about this road trip that the fans took, the Aggie fans took to North Dakota State, is they saw the possibilities. They saw what can be done, what could be done. I mean, it's like what do you think? What do you think is holding us back, for lack of a better phrase?
Us. We've been saying this for years, right? And we've been actually saying this before A&T, Florida A&M, and Bethune-Cookman all left the MEAC. We've been saying this before the SWAC became the conference in FCS football. But of course, the issue still goes back to money, right? Right. I'm saying this for the longest. One, as proud as these fan bases are, we don't give back. The giving back rate is somewhere between 1% to 3% as it pertains to giving back to our athletics departments. I know someone smarter again is going to come through and correct me, but I guarantee it's not more than 5%. I know that much for a fact. Other problem is you talk about the Fargo Dome, right? Yeah. The Fargo Dome is owned by the city of Fargo.
Okay.
So when you have that, and the university is probably leasing the stadium from the city, but my guess is allegedly that lease is at a low price. Allegedly.
Oh, they got the hookup. Okay.
That's what I'm hearing, but I don't know how true it is.
Gotcha.
But even if it is true, that goes back to another thing. It's about the connections that the institutions have within both city and state politics and legislature, right? Just those relationships that they have and being capable of doing certain things, you have the ability to do stuff like have a nice stadium like the Fargo Dome. I don't know if necessarily the city of Greensboro will build a stadium for A&T, but it would be nice, right?
Yeah.
But again, that's still a thing where, of course, A&T will still have to rent it out, but yeah, again, all things that are possible if they can prove that they can sell that arena, that stadium out on a normal basis and generate revenue for the city of Greensboro. But oh wait, that's something A&T already does, especially when it comes to GEHO. But that's another conversation for another time. So you talk about the giving by the alumni, the ability to have hookups within your city and state government. These are all things that, again, Deion Sanders has definitely pointed out as an insider now in. And these are all things that he's recognized because, again, he's noticed these things from the outside looking in. I said it before and I say it again. There's certain things I agree with Coach Prime with, certain things I disagree with Coach Prime with. But this whole thing about the giving back and the fiscal aspect of HBCU athletics, I'm most definitely in lockstep with him with a lot of that stuff. And, people, especially during the SWAC Media Day, kept bringing up the tradition of HBCUs. And he was like, what about it? And people were kind of offended because he was like, yeah, some of those traditions we need to get rid of. And one of those is how little we give and how some of us don't attend a lot of games. Now, I will confess, of course, well, not confess, but I will attest that, of course, he gets a percentage of the gate when they play at Jackson. So, of course, that's one of the reasons why, of course, he's pushing that people come out. But at the same time, outside of Jackson, for those schools that aren't having huge attendance numbers, it would be nice if you would have come out, especially if your school is performing. But again, another conversation for another time. I just, again, wish for everyone complaining about these things. These are things that a lot of us, especially HBCU sports media, got your HBCU game day, you got your you got Scotty over there off scripts, you got my man Mo Carter down there in Alabama, you got, man, there's so many people, BJ Jones, God, so many of us, Oneiden, Boxer Road. There's so many of us that have been saying this for years. That these other schools, because for a while it used to be, let's compare ourselves to what's going on with FBS, but that's pineapples and apples. Yes, they're both fruit, but it's two different fruit. Let's compare ourselves to the other apples. But when those apples are still shinier than ours, and we're on the same level, it's still a problem. But why is it a problem? And one of the glaring issues, of course, is donorship, most definitely. So yes, it is us that's hurting us.
Wow. Well said. I mean,
but yes, Scott, we've been saying that for years, man. Yeah. That, like you said, they are in Fargo, North Dakota. You got schools in Montana. You got Eastern Washington. You got take your pick, North Dakota, South Dakota State.
Stephen F. Austin.
Yeah, right.
But Texas, but still.
But they're in Texas, though. So I kind of give them a pass a little bit. When you talk about those programs, I'm not even talking about the schools in the CAA. Like, William and Mary, that's outside of Richmond, or Elon, which is just outside of Greensboro, or the College of Charleston. I'm not even talking about them, because I kind of get them, right? I'm not even talking about the Ivy League but those Midwestern schools. How?
Yeah.
And it's alumni, and it's their connections.
Yeah.
And we need to do better, man. We need to do better at that.
And I'm gonna piggyback by saying this. I was checking the Twitter thread just now, another Twitter thread, from some friends of ours on there who've been saying, and this has been a chorus that's been drumming up for this. As far as like, especially after what been leaked about what's reported about what Tennessee, how much Tennessee State is going to get for going up to South Bend to play Notre Dame in a few weeks. I think a few weeks.
No, next year.
Next year. Okay, next year. And they were complaining about taking the chance to get beat down. But it's like the chorus is, look, HBCUs, get your money.
Yeah.
Get your money. I know Deion doesn't like these pay games, get paid to get your asses kicked and humiliated. And that could be, again, that's another podcast in and of itself. But again, as we talked about all these brands, all the possibilities, man, is that this is really, it's been only amplified with Deion coaching in the SWAC. Reviving Jackson State. You know, it's like with so much money on the table for our HBCUs, man. I include, arch rival Central. I include, Morgan State, Delaware State, all the, there's money on the table.
Well, there's money on the table and there's money in the pocket. And the problem is the money in the pocket that people don't want to give up. But I will say this. The same way that a guy can get hurt in a matchup against an FBS opponent, it's the same way a guy can get hurt in a game against an FCS opponent, against a Division II opponent, or at practice. Football is a contact sport. Players are going to get hurt. Now, if your concern is getting beat down, you know what? There are lower level FBS opponents you can still play and still get paid from.
Right.
Still do that. And, it's been shown that some of us can beat some of them if your team is good enough. So that's a double win. The thing that, and my man BJ Jones, who's a Southern alum, most definitely pointed out recently was, this quick success of the Sun Belt.
Yeah.
And a lot of those teams.
They showed out last week, didn't they?
They sure did.
They showed the hell out last week.
And as of right now, they have the most wins against top 10 opponents so far this season. Right? And a lot of those schools, not too long ago, were within at least our lifetime, were FCS opponents. FCS
That's correct.
Schools, if not Division II.
All of them.
Yeah.
App State, Appalachian State, Coastal Carolina. James Madison now is in the Sun Belt. James Madison. Damn, there's many more. Campbell? No, Campbell's
Campbell's not there. They're moving up to CAA, but yeah.
But there's another one I was thinking about that just looked like Marshall. Marshall was FCS.
Yeah.
Not that long ago. So
so within our lifetime, we most definitely seen those schools elevate themselves.
Yes.
And that's again with the money that they generate, with the deals that they make, and it goes back to giving.
Right.
Goes back to giving. But I also understand too that, a lot of our institutions, we already don't have high enrollment. And if you don't have a high enrollment, you don't have a high alumni base, meaning you can't have a high giving back percentage. Well, you can't have, high giving back numbers, but you can still have higher than 5% though.
Right. Yeah.
Again, I'm not asking.
That's sad. That's sad.
Yeah, I know. I'm not asking that they give super big numbers, but if you expect us to compete against out-of-conference opponents, we need to have that out-of-conference money. Right. So.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, man, we're running out of time tonight. Next week, I know we made a lot of people on the Division II level mad, like Seattle Bay and the SIAC be mad and not mention them. But hey, we ran out of time, but we're gonna get to y'all next week.
But real quick though, real quick, just three things real quick. Number one, I got to shout out the CIAA with their big wins that they've had so far in the past 2 weeks. Bowie State over New Haven, who was a playoff team.
Nice.
And Virginia Union over Valdosta State. Yes, that Valdosta State that went to the Final Four last year. So shout out to them on that. And then you talked about Grambling and Jackson State. Guess who Grambling beat last week?
I forgot. It's up on my Lane. Did they play Lane?
No, it wasn't Lane.
Oh, okay.
It was our favorite team, Northwestern State.
That's right.
Let's go 47 on them.
That's right. There you go. Ding ding. That's a win over another FCS program. That's our conference. I know, but still. It's something.
It is. It's something. But again, I swear it's always that same drum they keep beating, though. Let's see what you do against Jackson this week, against the #1 defense in the nation.
Yeah, right.
Let's see what you do against them.
And let's looking forward for a few weeks where Jackson State hosts Campbell. We're looking for that. Now, Campbell's legit. Now, if they can, I'm not saying that, be upset, but if Jackson can prevail against them and have a good win against Campbell, yes. So we'll see. I'm looking forward to that game in a few weeks.
Yeah, and I know I don't want to prolong the show much longer, but I do got to bring this up because you did touch on it a little bit. You talk about Jackson State being at their apex. The only way that we'll truly see that is if they continue to schedule quality out-of-conference opponents. The thing is, though, of course, they got to play 8 within the conference. And then a lot of times those other 2 games, it's a classic. So, something's going to have to be done, though, that they go ahead and at least be a little bit more competitive. But, the whole rumor about them turning down to play against North Dakota State, another conversation for another time. But, yeah, in order for you want that respect, play them OOCs, buddy.
There you go. Enough said. Well said. All right. Thank y'all for tuning to the night. Please do not forget to check out this brother's work. You see it on the backdrop, theyardhbcu.com, herosports.com. Writes about all things FCS, the expertise of HBCUs. Sleazy Radio every Tuesday night on Facebook Live and YouTube. And Dwayne, your Twitter handle, please, for the masses.
The Yard HBCU. Check me out. And of course, as always, every week with Hero Sports, I just released our takeaways from week 2 and the previews for week 3, and my predictions for week 3 will be coming out tomorrow.
Outstanding. And please don't forget to check out my website. You can see in the glare here, theklowntimes.net. I'll be writing some more stuff. I will have a link about Brett Favre in a moment, which is another podcast for another time. We ain't gonna get into all that. And also, please continue to like, comment, share, subscribe. Get more subscribers by the day. So please continue to do that. Show me some love. We'd appreciate that. Guests appreciate that as well, because it's some residual effects from that as well. And last but not least, I mentioned the merch. I did get the merch at cafepress.com, Social Klown Time Sports. Those links, including Dwayne's links for his good work, be in the description on YouTube. So until next time, take care, be safe. Peace.